family funeral today, so
We need to make that appointment. I need to make the motion and go through that process.
Do you?
I think so. You want to call,
Sure.
call me or
I'll call the meeting to order.
I'll make the motion that Dean Stock serve as chair for this meeting.
I'll second that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Have you had a chance to look at the minutes?
Yeah. I'll make the motion to approve minutes from the previous meeting.
I'll second that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Minutes are approved. Does anyone have any need to?
I have nothing to add to the agenda.
I'll make the motion to approve the proposed agenda.
And I'll second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The agenda is approved. Is there any citizens input? If not, we'll proceed on to our discussion with the district watchman. Greg, good to see you this morning.
See you. I've got a copy of this letter. Renee had called, what was it, last week? About a gentleman coming in from the DOT wondering about crossing the facilities. I took the information and got it back up to Ivan. Now what it is, it's crossing agreements, very similar to Highway 20. It's a little bit different because they aren't affecting everything, and the verbiage he had for all four districts, it's DD 73, DD 15, 34, and 85. Three of those are district tile, and they aren't calling out any repairs to district tile. They're all surface drain culverts coming underneath, so they aren't really affecting those facilities at all. The only one they would be doing would be open ditch DD 73, and we can get Brian on conference call. I think he's expecting us if we've got any questions through here.
DD 73 isn't listed on the proposed.
Yeah, it'd be right on.
Oh, that's the first piece. Okay.
Yep.
I
Yep.
looked through the rest of the fine print and I didn't see.
Oh, yeah, that's
Okay.
the first one.
I'm sorry.
And we looked through the verbiage on there, and we're going to change. We would like to change a few things to make it similar to what we had for DD 20 on our like crossings on New 20 up here. Just stating that DOT is responsible for any crop or property damage within the work limits of the project. That states if they happen to get outside of their right of way but are still inside work limits, that they would be held responsible for any crop damages, any damages that occur during that process, which they did not state in here. And also a situation plan for each crossing, which in this case is only our open ditch because they shouldn't be impacting any of the tile lines. And
Crushing them?
they could crush them, but it's in their right of way, so they're still responsible for everything that goes on. And from my understanding, they aren't doing any road bed removal. They're just widening and creating more of a back slope on there.
I see.
So they aren't tearing everything up and putting new. So as the situation plan, we had them for each one of the tile crossings and the open ditches up on New 20. And that's basically showing what they're doing, what's going in place. And for our purposes, it's only DD 73, the open ditch. And they're suggesting going into a box culvert instead of a bridge that's out there. So we'd like them to have that with benchmark information and everything tied together. We also would like them to have installing this new facility, this new box, a foot below design grade. In case in the future we ever have an improvement, they would have to drop that box. They're already oversized now, so dropping it that extra foot, giving us that option by the time we get there for any sort of improvements. And then a flat fee of $1,000 for use of right-of-way contained within the open ditch area for pre-engineering services. Sac County asked for this on new 20. DOT came back and said they were gonna do the exact same thing as Calhoun, and that was $750 at that time. So we're gonna ask for that $1,000 again and probably negotiate.
And what are your estimates for cost?
Well, it varies. We're gonna have to do benchmarks and then reestablish their new benchmarks with the old. That would be a question for Brian on the exact numbers.
Well, and my concern is that we cover it so there is no cost to the district.
Yeah, and that's what this $1,000 would be for.
All right.
So then nothing is coming out of the district's
All right.
money. So that would be for the open ditch DD 73. The tile line's 1534.85. We're just asking them to put in a small descriptions. Any disturbance to the tile district is cause for immediate notification to the drainage clerk. Then also provide written documentation and photos of repairs made to the facility. From what they describe on what they're doing, they should never get to our facility. But in case they do, in case we got minimal cover and they crush it, and they have to do a repair, they should call Renee right away to say, we've damaged this, this is what we're doing, and then provide the district what exactly happened and photos of how they put it back together. Very similar to like a work order that they would be taking care of them. So I guess we would like the board to approve ISG, INS Group, to negotiate with the DOT on behalf of the districts to try to get those added on. So at this time, we aren't gonna sign, or we don't recommend signing their agreements yet before we can talk to them about getting some of this stuff added in.
That's good with me. I'll make the motion to appoint ISG to negotiate on behalf of the district with these concerns being part of the arrangement.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay.
Thanks.
Anything else before I?
Is there anything else going on in the drainage world right
Drainage
now?
has been eerily quiet.
Okay.
Wait till.
Eerily quiet.
I've been keeping
Really
my
dry now.
Nobody's complaining, and I don't know
If it
what's.
starts raining and puddles start popping up.
Yeah, and I have a feeling there's probably a good chance that we're gonna end up with a lot.
Because of the frost.
Because of the frost,
Oh,
and
wow.
we had no water in them. And that water sort of keeps that surrounding ground a little bit thawed out. And with no water in them and all that frost and how deep that frost was, I would imagine we're gonna see a lot of holes, especially on that non-reinforced concrete.
I've talked to the road crews a couple of different times, and they're replacing holes with separated culverts just all over that. Up
Yeah,
in
they
Cedar,
did one done by my house.
Yeah, in Cedar, they've done just in a 4 or 5 mile area, 4.
Yeah.
So I'm worried about
Yeah.
tile stuff too.
It could, you know,
It could be bad.
especially if you start needing the drain,
Yeah.
and that's when, and then throw this
Yeah.
on top of it.
And I mean, there's some guys getting in the field, but we don't have that real big push yet, and they're only in their cornfields right now, so.
Right.
We still have some more time before we get everything looked at.
And those won't appear until you get good water on top.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not gonna show up until.
Yeah,
I've been really watching north of Lytton. We haven't had a volume of water to see.
oh, yeah.
But what we've had just immediately is out of there.
Yeah, and having that big root ball out is gonna help for the town of Lytton. We took that out, what was that, about 4 years ago now?
Well, and 2 and 51, though, up near.
Oh,
near
yeah,
21,
further,
the new
yeah.
tie-in.
Yeah, that'd be fun to see if that works.
Yeah, I know. I'd
Get
like to
better.
see- Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
get better.
Should say.
I haven't been by that outlet
How
pipe.
well it works.
But
I have, and it ran for a little bit and then quit,
Oh, did
and
it?
I have not been by in the last few days.
Now, has there been any more tiling tied into that?
No, because everybody's waiting to see what the new installation does.
Yeah.
You know, if there's access, they're all waiting to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had Renee call about, I've had some inquiries about when the finals are gonna be for that, and I've been told that it will be with the fall taxation, and be sure that
Okay.
that gets done by fall.
Okay.
Brian told me that I should have those schedules by the end of May, was the last.
Oh, okay, so you'll
So
be
that'll give me-
plenty of time
Yeah.
to, okay.
New schedules are a lot easier to put in than revising the old ones.
I had a phone call here 10 days ago asking where that was at, and wanted it to be done so they're not paying interest on warrants.
Yeah.
So,
And that's when I called him, and that's what he told me then. So.
okay.
And I think I've talked to Eric up there since then, looking for information around that district, so they must be working on it.
Okay. All right.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. I'm headed to Des Moines then.
Okay, thanks,
Wow.
Renee.
And, that's yours.
Okay.
I just got that this morning.
When we get these, we have to record.
Are they gonna, no, I think a year, like a year from now, are they gonna be starting running bridges on 96?
I think so. Isn't that 15? Is a big deal? And they're gonna do the bridges and the road repair all in
Yeah,
15.
it'll all be. Well, that's gonna be
Okay.
A lot
a lot of traffic on, I think a lot of traffic that used to go through Lakeview goes up there now.
Sure.
Not,
And N28 as well.
Your,
The,
I didn't realize that, talking about N20, they're gonna grind that all the way down.
they've ground what they're gonna ground.
How far south they go?
About 5 miles.
Oh,
So close to
you know,
D40.
when I come up, when I came up Sunday morning and we were down that farm in Greenway, it was ground that far.
Right. I think it goes just
I might
to
have
the
that.
40.
I don't know if
Oh.
Or maybe a half mile beyond the 40 or
Oh,
something.
they,
on there.
so they're,
Not from, I guess.
they're possibly gonna be putting on
And
I
if
wonder
you,
how much that costs a mile to grind that?
I don't recall. If you look at it now with the rain that we've had, it's pretty level. Like, it grounded out pretty well. The big valleys are still on where it approaches in 236 now. Yeah. The rest of it really, they flattened it out.
Jim, you wanna discuss the roof bids?
Yeah,
Oh, that's good.
shortly after we opened the bids last week on our roof project, I got a phone call from Hedberg and Son, who was one of the bidders, to let me know that the bid that he submitted included the extra 10-year warranty, which put him above the other bid, which did not include an additional 10-year warranty, because the other bidder wasn't qualified to supply that additional warranty. So he said to compare apples to apples, you need to look at my other bid. So he sent me another one that, and this was before these went out to the public, so I'm sure that he didn't see it. The craft bid that we opened last week and looked at was $49,745, and Hedberg's bid with the identical maintenance agreement, their warranty was $48,980. So we didn't take any action on those two, on that project bid last week. so if you want to consider those today, that's fine. Hedberg also offered a proposal on some other things that we talked about having done. One of them was installation of a snow rail up here on this roof to eliminate some of those huge piles dropping right in front of that door, which is a huge liability. There's a couple of downspouts over here on the north side that need to be replaced, and then he submitted a proposal for removing the top 17 feet of the old chimney that we're not using now that we have the new furnace system in the courthouse. The snow rail proposal was $1,200, replacing the northwest downspouts $350, and the tearing down that top 17 feet of the chimney is $8,780.60. These are all in consideration of having that 80-foot telecrane or whatever here to do the roof. So all of those things, if the board decides to do those other projects, he can do that all at once with that same piece of equipment.
The downspout, is that copper downspout?
Yeah. Evidently there's something plugged in it, and it sat all winter full of ice, and it just split the back of it out for two sections, but it doesn't say how long the sections are. I'm assuming they're 10-foot sections.
I'm in favor of taking the low bid, and especially with the consideration of doing these other projects while they're here. Do we want to at this time consider the extra warranty piece, or what were your thoughts on that?
The conversation that I had with the representative from Hedberg and Son, he indicated that the only way that we can do the additional 10-year warranty is if they take it clear down to the deck. Neither one of these bids, I didn't bring that email with me, but this just takes it down to the insulation. And
well, that consideration can be.
we can talk about that at a later date.
All right. I'll make the motion to approve the low bid on the roof repair. Does that need to include the other two repairs, or are you going to do those separate?
You can do those separate.
Okay. I will make the motion to approve the low bid on the roof reinstall.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All ayes, the motion carried.
And then those other three are just, I don't know why you can't do those all at the same time in one motion.
I will make the motion to approve Hedberg and Son on their proposals to lower the chimney, do the eave spout replacement, and the snow rail.
I'll second that motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All ayes, motion carried. I guess this time we'll go into recess until 10:30. And Bob Page is here. So we'll come out of recess, and
Hi, Bob.
Bob Page is here to discuss an issue possibly affecting drainage.
Yeah. Did John talk to you about
He did
this?
Saturday morning.
Okay. I have no idea who the tenant is, but this is the landowner of that. And I picked this up out at FSA yesterday.
After my conversation with John, I also went to NRCS yesterday
Uh-huh.
and talked to Bob Streef. And I asked the questions about whether the terraces could be removed. And they said they had a 20-year contract, and once it went by the 20 years, then those could be removed, which I kind of thought if it was cost share that they had to stay, but that wasn't accurate. NRCS said if they had gone beyond the contract life, then it was the landowner's option as to whether to remove them or not. So we briefly visited with Greg, I did this morning, about just to give him a little bit of heads up as to what your concern is, and ask him to stay to be a part of the conversation. Do you want to explain what's going on?
I could explain it better. Do you have this McEwen, and I think he's dead. My daughter got on the computer last night, and supposedly he died in 2010. Now, who's in charge now, I don't know, and I do not know who the tenant is. But here a couple of weeks ago, we went, well, a week or so ago, we went up there in the corner, this section 18
Okay, that's what,
in Jackson, and clear up in the very center of 18, this 18 here,
here, Bob, I'll slide it over. That's-
18, right here. Okay, right up here, that used to be grass. There was probably 6, 8, 10 acres of grass. Okay, we went up there the other day, and the grass has been torn up. They've, back behind that grassy area is a low area, and he's channeled that out so that the water drains approximately 40 acres back there. In the process, he has a big tractor with big blade on it, and he pushed a bunch of rocks through the fence onto us. Well, I suppose his foot slipped off the clutch. But then he goes up the line here a little further, and there's some rocks in the fence there, and there's a little pocket there. So he digs another outlet, I guess we'll call it, right through the fence, rocks and all. Now, do I have to put up with that?
Just after thinking it through, and I kind of had this conversation with John.
Yeah.
The property isn't in a drainage district. Is that correct?
Mine is, and I would imagine his is, because that slope was there, but it was seeded, and there was no problem as long as. But all this water now, when we get a gusher like we had the other day, he's loosened that soil. That's going to come down across me into my waterway and end up in drainage ditch 71.
Greg, will you want to get involved in this?
Yeah, we had, I was telling Rick, we had an issue like this up in Palmer, I believe, and I even took care of that. So I can talk to him a little bit about it, the drainage engineer, and he can check into the legalities of it. I'm not sure. I don't think I would want to say anything without checking into some of the drainage
Sure.
law and whatnot. And I can't remember if 71.
Yeah, 71 starts up in.
Could we have Renee come back?
I think she just left for Des Moines.
Oh, that's right.
And we'd be.
Our clerk
This is an
just
open
left.
issue now
Huh?
also.
Our drainage clerk just left. She had to go to Des Moines.
Oh, okay.
But I'll have this conversation with her later.
Yeah.
Well, it-
In Bob, in visiting with the
Yeah, it's in the-
NRCS, my
But I don't know if it's
information is
71
that you can't
71, because there's two.
you can't block the natural flow of water. But then also the information that they gave was that you couldn't redirect it either. So it'll be interesting to see what Ivan
Yeah.
has to say, because you got kind of two different situations in that.
Right.
One is that you're really you're redirecting water, which
Yeah, and I guess the thing that gets real touchy is taking it back to natural ground. If you're pulling those terraces out, there's no way of telling what natural ground ever was. So that's another issue that might be a little questionable. As far as the rocks go, that would just be a civil
that's
matter.
a civil matter.
Like
Yeah.
if I dump rocks, you know, from when I was farming up by you, if I dump rocks over in your field, that's between you and me. That's a civil, doesn't have anything to do with drainage. That's a civil matter.
We have a payloader, so we can, I think he wants them back. They're not mine. I think he wants them back.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, it's kind of curious who the tenant is. I can find out, I guess. Doesn't change anything. But the one issue, if you've got, you know, on your property, you got a 40-acre pond that doesn't have an outlet. And you surface, you know, if you get a cat in and you create something that hasn't been there before since time, and that happens, you're surface draining, and you know, that might be an issue. You know, Colin McCullough is our drainage attorney, and I've talked to Colin about this very issue. It's been resolved between two, you know, not going to court, but it is. I don't know if you can do that.
I don't think you can. I don't think you can redirect it. I don't know.
I mean, if it wasn't there before, I think you have to ask permission from the person you're casting the water down, which might be Bob in this case. I think to do that legally, I think you have to get permission. Because think of, you know, say it was a 100-acre lake, and you're cutting on your own private property, it just seems like that's unreasonable. We should probably talk to Colin.
We'll have him visit with Ivan, and then we will also, you can either contact Colin, or maybe we'll contact Colin to call Ivan.
Yeah.
To get together to have them have a
I
conversation.
think the
What's
fence
going on?
And then they'll get back to
fence
you.
lines are even different.
Well, my concern is, over the years, that waterway of ours, well, if that water all comes down there, it'll be a ditch, and we won't be able to cross it. Because there's a lot of water going down through, gonna come down through there. And the FSA lady said that she checked her files, and he did not come in and ask for permission to change anything.
Or to tear that
Yeah,
grass up.
yeah.
Yeah.
He's,
So he's in violation there already.
oh, yeah, yeah. That's what she said.
And if that was ever
Violation
deemed
there.
wetland.
Well, it doesn't have to be wetland, even just
It
to
dries
tear
up.
up sod. You can't do that without their permission.
You could call Rick or I, it dries up before we get out. You know, we could go out and shoot it and kind of verify what's going on.
Yeah, and I think with Ivan's experience with this other.
Yeah, he'd be
You
able
might be able
to.
to do it just in the office with the new map.
All with LiDAR.
So, tramp around rubber shoes in the mud. Sounds like we're gonna have mud for a few days.
Yeah, I will, I'll get a hold of Ivan and see what he says.
Okay.
And I don't know, he might know before we get a hold of Colin too, except that rock issue is completely, I mean, that would be Colin's.
Well, you can't get back there to it now. It's so doggone wet. But you shouldn't complain about the moisture. My gosh.
We may be very happy to have it in July.
Very much so, yeah. Well, I appreciate you guys' time, I did.
Well, that's what we're here for.
If he's let turned loose, first thing you know, he'll be in my backyard, because he just, whoosh. Sure, I like to get rid of excess water too, but I'm not gonna run on to you, so.
We understand your situation.
You
and-
understand my situation?
So, this is the happy, whoever owns this, okay,
Part, yeah, no, this is not this guy, this McEwen,
it's this guy.
yeah. It's right back up in this northeast corner,
That'll be the, well, it's the southeast quarter of 13.
southwest.
I mean, excuse me, southwest
Yeah.
quarter of 18.
18.
Okay. Get up there.
It's been seeded down for years, no
Really?
problem. Sure, I get a little water off of it,
Well,
but
Kim,
Dale?
Kim Larson,
McKim lives there, yeah, but he just has the acreage.
he doesn't
No,
farm
he
this.
doesn't farm.
Look at that.
He might know who. But does he still work at NRCS, Bob? Is Kim?
I haven't seen
I
him out
don't
there.
think so.
Okay,
I don't
he no
think-
longer works there.
Well, he doesn't know who the tenant is. I've talked to him. And and this McEwen supposedly is dead.
Huh.
Now this
That's a-
Joanne,
that's a
they-
trust.
maybe it's his wife, I don't know.
It's a trust. Or is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
We'll do some checking,
Very good.
and either probably engineer's office will get back to you.
Somebody will get back to me.
Absolutely.
Yeah, okay. Very good. Well, thank you, guys.
You bet. Thank you, Bob.
I just don't want to stop it any further.
I understand. Have a good day.
I hope so. Say, you know, it's only 40 degrees.
I know.
It's dropped 2 degrees today.
It's gonna kill my corn.
The tile aren't running yet, though. So, whatever, I guess. Been there, done that.
Have to take what we get.
Thanks again,
You
fellas.
bet. Assume the engineers coming.
We'll go into recess until which time the county engineer arrives.
But he has, I don't think he's got much for
It's all about money at some point.
We'll come out of recess and have a discussion with the county engineer.
Thank you.
County crews, building driveways in Coon Valley, Cook Township, repairing road culverts in Coon Valley, Wheeler, and Levy Townships, laying gravel roads, scheduling contractor repair of several damaged tile lines from old ICN fiber optic installations, stockpiling roadstone on several sites in the county, graveling roads in Eureka Township.
The repair, the tile repair pieces, you just line up somebody to fix it and the other company pays the bill, or how's that work?
I need to check with Mike on what's gonna happen there for sure, because I'm guessing that ICN fiber he's talking about, that's probably some lines that have been in the ground for 20-some years.
Why would it just be appearing now?
Well, if they happen to just get close to the tile line or just clip it, and it takes a while for that problem to show up, I mean, sometimes those issues just, unless they completely blocked it, sometimes it restricts it and then eventually a hole develops.
Yeah, but usually the hole is fairly quick. I mean, a couple of years.
I know Dad's had some east of Linton there, they hit a tile line that didn't show up for probably 25 years.
Really?
I just happened to accept it, and water was getting through, but yet it wasn't, finally come to the surface.
Okay.
Project status, Boy River Bridge, contractor's got most of the demolition done now and is working on rip-wrapping. He did pour a couple of yards of concrete on one of the abutments here last week.
Are the beams here?
No. And that's a concern that they've expressed, is that they haven't got delivery. They're expecting them here in the next, couple of weeks, but they're gonna run out of work to do before the beams get here. We'll have to just see when they show up. If they don't have work that they could be doing, and they're waiting for the beams, then the DOT construction manual instructs us not to charge days if they're waiting for product again. If they can't work or be progressing toward getting things done, then they can get this riprap placed, because that has to all go in under the bridge before they set the beams, so that needs to get done, and I think they've got some other work on the beams they could be doing, but hopefully the beams get here and it doesn't become an issue. White topping project, I did have the foreman for the project called and said that he'd be our contact for that project, but hadn't sent up anything yet for a pre-construction meeting. Thought it'd be, toward the July sometime when he got started on that. Pavement markings, Vogel finished the center line painting last week, and they've got, we think they've got all the white lines at the bridges done, but they got stop bars, white stop bars to do the stop signs yet.
Speaking of bridges, the one here on Old 20 on that approach, when is that scheduled?
We're putting plans together for that right now. We haven't.
Will that get done this summer?
Should. We were out there last week, and we were thinking about trying to have it let probably in June.
Just carrying a load across there, it seems like maybe it's getting worse.
Eastbound or westbound or
East.
eastbound, I think is the worst. We're gonna go up that.
I mean, you really.
It's eastbound on the west side is the worst section there.
Yeah, we went across the planners Saturday night.
Did you really notice? I'm doing seed carrier across it. And I slow down because I know it's there, but boy, you really.
We were looking at it the other day, and the DOT had originally had plans to do 100 feet each way, and I thought maybe we'd get by on that east side, not going that far, but after being out there and looking at it, that 100 feet looked like it's pretty close.
Yeah,
I put there's an orange mark in the center of the road out there. When you drive it, I thought the spot that bounced was closer to the bridge, but where it's marked, it's probably pretty close to the right spot.
I haven't really maybe gone across with the load so much until recently, but boy, it shakes you pretty good.
Yeah.
So I thought maybe it might be getting
You
worse.
see people crowding the center line.
They are.
Away from that one side.
Yes, question.
Oh, you're talking about, they replaced there was a big culvert under the road by my house, M68. And because of the deep frost this year, we're seeing more culverts get tipped or.
Oh, I would guess that there might be more showing up because of it. Anytime. Basically what happens with those culverts, they didn't tie them when they put them in originally, those concrete culverts, and the moisture gets between the joints, and every year when it freezes, it pushes it a little bit. And eventually it pushes it off, the tongue comes out, and then it starts sucking dirt up on the surface. And
That's probably what happened.
did it move twice as much this year as it did most years? Yeah, maybe, but, you know, you're talking a small distance, but those accumulate after enough time and so anymore when we put them back in new installs, we tie them together, so they don't do that.
Do you have a question?
Yes. Where's the bridge you're talking about that bounces?
D36 out here.
D36?
Old 20.
Cedar.
Cedar.
River.
Okay.
When we got our transfer of jurisdiction, we got money allotted to fix that.
Put it in the budget.
We need to take some shots out there. One thing we need to look at is, you know, like on that west side, South Lane, it is settled enough. And we're trying to figure out whether the paved shoulder, whether we can leave that or whether we're gonna have to take that out. We're gonna replace the first 20 feet next to the bridge, but then beyond that, there's some paved shoulder there that they used when they were doing they built the bridge and shoved the traffic over there and the paved part of that. Well, if that's gone down too, and our main line really needs to be higher to give us our smooth ride, we might end up having to take some of that out. I don't want to take it out if we don't have to. But yeah.
Because it's nice to have there.
Yeah. You know, on the east side, it goes up there 400 or 500 feet. But we're going to take some shots and see whether we don't want to sacrifice the ride to keep the paved shoulder. I guess we can't get a ride on our main line without having a jump there at the paved shoulder. We'll probably take this paved shoulder out too.
You won't put it back then?
No, we need to put it back. That's why we're hoping to leave it.
Well, yeah, that's me too. Because like for slower traffic, or people pulling implements or something, sometimes that's nice
to get over.
Yeah, and then let people by.
I think we're down to item 3. Last week we talked just briefly about the DOT and the. You guys sent me this information. There's information on the back side too. But it's their policy for disposing of excess land. You want that too, Jim? Yeah, get it. Basically, you know, they offer it to the owner at the time it was originally purchased, and then the present owner of the remaining land. And at the end of that step 1 up there at the top, it says section 306, but section 306 is on the back side. It tells you by code who they have to make that first proposal to.
So this is in contrary to what we had last week. It says state agencies is right in with counties and cities.
Well, I looked at that too, and I didn't call this guy back after he sent this to me.
Because that is not the answer we got last week. We had that conversation.
You know, the letter they sent to us, which is step 2, offered it just to the school boards and the county.
Right. And so that draws my attention right away. They list them first, along with cities and county. Of step 2. First of step
Well, they
2.
don't list schools anywhere.
They don't. See, that's really very bad to have multiple documents out there saying that there's 3 different ways. You know, we've tried to pin them down on that before and not get the same answer every time.
You know, according to the guy I talked to, this is their procedure. And like I say, it does say state agencies in there, but in the letter they said now they didn't say that, so.
You know, if the owner at time of acquisition doesn't want it at appraised value, or the present owner, if that's changed, that if they don't want it at appraised value or higher, then it goes to the next step.
Right.
And the next step
include state
I
agencies.
just wonder why, like, the neighbors or other people in the county don't have a chance to bid against.
Yeah, that actually, if the first owner or the present owner of the remaining land doesn't say they're interested or make that offer at appraised value, then state agencies are right in before any other adjacent owner has an
Yeah.
opportunity.
When the budding owners come in under step 3.
Right, behind DNR.
I can call that Rick Skinner.
On your number 3 on the bottom, on the backside, the last 2 lines, transfer to a state agency, city, county, or other political subdivision, that would include.
It would, except that in our previous conversations, they have failed to say that state agencies are included in that
Yeah.
step 3.
I think somewhere.
That's kind of the pits, they take the land under condemnation and get appraised value. In this case, you got 4,000 for the land, now they say they appraise it at 10,000. You're gonna spend 6,000 more to get back what was once yours. That's too, I know it has to work that way, but it's kind of a bad deal.
I mean, I think we've voiced our discomfort with the fact that adjacent owners don't have an ability to put it back into private ownership before state agencies or anybody. If you had
Well,
a
it seems like they, at the very least, they should be on equal footing with state agencies. Equal footing, not
right,
some sort.
I agree.
That's my own personal.
Oh, I totally agree. So, I mean, that puts them, any state agency or ahead, which then eliminates it from perpetual taxation. And no adjacent owner, unless the state turns it down, has the ability to put it back in private ownership. That's wrong.
And the other thing is, the letters for step 1 go out again to either the owner, present owner, or the owner at the time of acquisition. And my understanding is if both of those offer to pay appraised value, then they send them another letter saying, we've had numerous offers at appraised value, give us your best price, and then whoever, that's it, whoever goes the highest, responds the highest gets it. To me, if at that point, the adjoining landowners don't even know that the letters have gone out unless they're watching.
To make an arrangement with the previous owner.
Yeah. Because that can be done.
Right, right.
But I know, several of those parcels that have gone to step 4 over there in Webster County, I went on and looked at just a couple of them, but they are selling those parcels with no access to the road. And so that, I'm sure, decreases its value, which I would assume would be showed up in the appraisal. But whoever's gonna try to buy them is gonna have to make arrangements through a neighboring landowner to get to them if somebody would buy it.
Which really doesn't have to be arranged if that person is interested in owning it,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Which
they
Yeah,
would
that
get-
happens quite a bit because they split the farm. So the borrow pit's on the other side of the first owner. And so the neighbor to the north, if he doesn't want to give somebody access to the pond site or home site, but he's got to buy it. But if he doesn't want to pay appraised value,
then it goes down to one.
you can't force the guy to give you easement.
I don't
I don't
think so.
believe so, do you?
I don't think so.
Well,
I don't see how
yeah.
they can sell it without access. I mean, you can't landlock anybody in any other deal.
Dean's point of,
That's interesting.
they're just eliminating the condemned owner, because who's gonna pay twice the rate that you were given for the property just a few years before? I mean,
Well, it'd be interesting, that letter that we got, to go back and look in the transfers to see what they paid for that. Wasn't it 10-something acres that we got the letter on?
it would be about 50% of what that appraisal is right now. It looks to me like.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Of
a lot
course.
of the land was selling for that 5,000.
Right.
At the time, that's,
And this is about 10-1.
you know, if you didn't act on it, doing a tax-free exchange right away, the way that land went, it's just, you know, I guess it depends on if you look at it from a socialist standpoint, but from a free enterprise system, here's the worst, you know, they put a, you know, say you own one farm, and they put a road right through the middle of your one farm, and they pay us $5,000 an acre, and it goes up to 10 real quick. And then, let's say if that's the same farm, that you don't get a chance to buy the unused portion on the north side of the road, because to get to it, the state's not gonna give you access, so you gotta get permission from the guy farther north to get to what was once yours.
Yeah, it's a bad situation. Are you gonna pin them down again?
I will call that, Rick, and maybe what I could do is try to get an answer from him, or if nothing else, maybe call him during the board meeting, just visit with him a little bit, see if he's got any comments. You know, that one up there on, that got the letter on the 196, of course, it was far enough off the road that access, you know, wasn't an issue there, so that one will have the same access as it did before. Because it was almost a mile, I think, north of the project. But it'd be interesting on some of these other ones to see what the appraised value comes in at when we've got no access. 'Cause it's gotta affect the value.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, there are easements, you know, created every year that, you know, you got, at some cost, I'm sure.
Yeah, yeah.
And if you don't get cooperation from the heirs, or, you know, that happened in my section. If they they wanted to sell to,
Yeah, if you
if
haven't
you
got
don't
a
get voluntary cooperation, for whatever reason.
Yeah, if you haven't got a willing seller, you're gonna probably not get your easement bought. Item 4 there, I did submit to Jim a budget amendment to increase new equipment from 442 to 530 to cover the cost of that loader that we bought, and then there was some snow equipment for that new truck that we've spent right now. I think we've spent $498,000 or something like that. So we're almost $500,000. We've got about $30,000 worth of snow equipment for that one last truck we bought. We had not bought yet. Mike's got that ordered, and we're expecting it to be here in the next month. So
That grinding, took the road south of Lytton Sunday morning, and they grind about 5 miles.
we went all the way to 175. So yeah.
Oh, you did go clear to Auburn?
Yeah.
How much does that cost a mile to have that process done?
It was about, they charged us just almost 61,000 for this last stretch they did, and they did.
See, they did that after, because the first stretch they just went a little beyond D46. And they went, then they went
Then they
back.
went north first and did the part north of Linton, and then they come back
Oh, okay.
south.
Cause that, I hadn't been down.
But it was, they did about 20 and a half lane miles with that last part, so it was about $3,000 a lane mile, or about 6,000
Wow.
a mile.
When will the other product stuff? be
We've sent a
done?
letter to Stateville, and we're trying to negotiate microsurfacing on that stretch.
So sometime this summer then?
Yeah, they're gonna be, they've got, Stateville is about the only company in Iowa that's doing the microsurfacing on the state. We got copies of the state bids they had for, the work, they're gonna do south.
75 cent.
Yeah, and then they do some on 71, and then west
20.
early on
Yeah.
20. And so we got their prices on all that, and then we got prices. They also got a job over in Hamilton County. But I'm not sure exactly when they're gonna do this work on 175 and 7120, but they're gonna be set up down on D46 at the Teton Hall pit, we call it. And so they're gonna be only, what is it, about 5 or 6 miles from the county line. I mean, so they're gonna be real close, and so we feel we can get the best prices to negotiate and get it done while they're here doing the other work. So that's what we're.
I was telling Dean in the meeting that it really leveled it off pretty good.
It helped the drain.
Yeah, because then after these rains, you notice.
Yeah.
What do
It's
they
not
do with
so-
that granules?
Most of
They
it,
just suck it up?
no, most of it we just pushed over on the shoulder. Some places the shoulder was low. Last fall when we did that.
So that's a pretty good material.
Yeah.
I noticed like on one of the farm, they put a bunch of, a couple of new driveways
Yeah.
on the east side, on the Calhoun County side.
We did pick up through Lytton. We had a truck there to pick up that material that was coming off, because we didn't want to push it out in people's
Yeah.
lawns. So we picked it up through Lytton there and then dumped it on those driveways down there.
Back to that. What's the plan and what's the schedule for what they didn't grind on the N28 D36 intersection?
Well, we got a couple things going there. We're trying to look at and get some old information from the AMPC and the city and see what we can do about that water in that northwest corner. I mean, I'm not sure we're gonna solve the total problem before we get here to do this other work, so probably what we'll do is just have them do a double, they'll do a scratch coat first in those ruts, and then a finish coat to smooth that off at the intersection as a sort of a temporary fix. And at the same time, we're gonna try to see what we can do about getting something to get that water out of that corner.
There's an intake that's not close enough to the intersection. Isn't that the problem? kind of?
Well, yeah.
And-
It's on the west side, but it's further up the hill.
Yeah.
And it don't take water very good.
Oh, it don't take water either.
Well, I think after you get about the first 100 gallon in there, it's so slow,
I see.
then it runs down to the intersection, and then when that side gets full enough, it runs across the road to the east side.
So can you just do something underneath the road and put one closer on the one that drains?
Well, what I'm trying to find out is when they put that, AMPC put that lagoon line in there between the edge of the road and I think the sidewalk. I'm trying to find out exactly where that went through, but I'm wondering when they went through with that they didn't, that intake up there drains across where they put that line in, and they replaced it, and over time it's become broke down, and that's why that intake doesn't take water.
Well, but either way, it's still too far north.
Right, but if that tie line does come south and it's there, maybe we can tap into that and put an intake, somewhere in that corner. The other thing we've looked at when we were standing out there looking at the intersection was west of that intersection, the area between the edge of the pavement and the sidewalk has built up over time with material. And I'm not so sure we couldn't get at least the top water from that intersection to run west on the shoulder or at least between the shoulder and the sidewalk, if we'd cleaned that out. And so we were gonna take some shots down there to see if.
So where's the closest drop then to the west? Because that's clear back.
There's an intake at that next intersection.
Is there?
To the west.
Okay. Because, you know, there, until AMPC did some work on the intersection next to their building or even closer to the building, that crossed the
Yeah,
road.
at the end of the alley there.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
that, I mean, I don't know that it's completely solved, but it's a lot better.
Yeah. I'm not sure what was there for an intake before, but, you know, they put that big, deepened basin in there now, and again, you're limited by how well the tile line going out takes that water, because there is no storm sewer in town, it's all going in the old tile systems, and I think that tile system there goes.
It went south across the road.
Yeah.
Because they did work
I
on
remember
that.
seeing that.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I remember them working on
But yeah, we're gonna try to do something with that water, but in the meantime, we asked them in their quote request to just double seal that short distance that we didn't grind and get it so it's level, or closer to level, I guess. I'm not sure we'll take it all out, but it'll be smoother.
it. Why didn't you just grind it?
Well, and we might end up grinding it yet if the city of Lytton brings a grinder back to do some city work that they're gonna do, and the timing is right, we might try to grind a little bit more of that.
So I think you should, because it's a nasty dip there.
Yeah, but they're supposed to be able to fill 1.5 inches with this microsurfacing too. Well, I think it probably would. I think you have more of a trouble staying if it's super thin.
That's where you see, you know, like north of the country club where they did last year, if there's a big asphalt seam or something, an old road, and it's not very, not real thick when it goes over that.
Yeah.
Pretty soon, you can't ever look down because it's not red, because it gets down to that little bump of asphalt or tar. It's,
Well, I think this microsurfacing is a product it's not gonna be like asphalt that when it heats up in the summertime, it starts to get flexible and moves. I think it's got some concrete in it, and so it's a little bit stiffer. So I think it'll stay on the ruts good.
And I think in the road bed that we have to work with in 20, I mean, it's a perfect place to try it, because we don't have many of those bumps, you know. That it's, yeah, there's some cracks and stuff, but it's
Highway
fairly
70,
solid.
you know, it's pretty uneven compared to.
I drove, part of 175 that day. We were looking at, we looked at N28 and then we made a loop up and looked at D15 and then come down on M54 and then on past Homer and over there. Looks like 175 should have had that something done to it a lot sooner than now.
Like there's some spots.
Like everybody is struggling to, get it online to do whatever needs done.
If there's nothing else, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
Also move. Thanks, Sean.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.